I want to start off today talking a bit about the drug industry and some of our challenges. So one of the things we talked about yesterday during the Innovation Council, and I thought it was so important, was old submission ways. So how many of you remember paper submissions? It was the way our world was, and that's how it was when I joined the industry in 1992. And that's where we've not seen a great deal of transformation, because I jokingly say, and this is not disparaging to a company, but if you think about eDocs, you think about Vault. It's a vault, it's locked in there, okay? But I need information out of that system, okay? I need intelligence information out of that system. Are these systems being built so that these people have the ability to, first of all, they'll use them, okay? And second of all, are they easy for them to use so that they see that as a very useful tool? So I was at a RAPS conference, and it was intended for the students there. And there were a number of people from industry, but a lot of the pharmacy students. And after my talk, I had a pharmacy student come up to me and say, you know, what you were talking about, innovation and entrepreneurship, she says, was interesting. When I did my internship in pharma, she says, I'm used to being at a school where I have the best technology. I can work in my room, I can work where everything's very portable, I have the best technology. And then I went inside pharma, okay? And she said, I mean, they were happy that they gave me an iPhone and an iPad, and I was supposed to be grateful. You gotta give up the 50% of your job that's not value added, okay? So we're gonna make that shift and make that change. And I said, here's the deal. You get on board or you're not gonna have a role here. Okay, and we'll talk a little bit about leadership in that way, because you have to drive that change. You have to make those really bold statements and say, either get on board or let me help you find something else that's a fit for you. And this is a very, very tough message. It means putting in goals that say, if you don't get on board with the changes we're making, you won't have a role here. If you don't get on board with the technology I purchased to make our jobs better, you're not going to have a role here. But you know what? You have to hold people accountable for doing their job. That's part of the reason why we have we add in layers of people to check people to make sure they're doing their job. They just should be expected to do their job or get fired. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative about it, but you don't do your job, you don't have a job. It should be that simple. I want to talk a little more about the technology adoption lifecycle and change. What's very interesting about what's happening now is, and you probably saw this was a couple months ago on the Harvard Business Review, the Big Bang market adoption. And I think this is so important. Big Bang disruptions collapse the product life cycle we know. Now there are two segments: trial users who often participate in product development, and everyone else. The adoption curve has become something closer to a straight line that heads up and then falls rapidly when saturation is reached or a new disruption appears. We've not seen this really happen in our industry inside pharma yet, but it's ripe to happen. If we had huge innovation in the space to where somebody came out with, as George indicated, an amazing user-friendly interface, something that had regulatory intelligence built in, had search capability, sharing capability, would we walk away from the systems that we had in the past? I don't know the answer, but all I know is that we need this. And I used to scratch my head and say, God, why couldn't we do this inside of pharma? Because we're talking to the same old companies. We got to talk to new, innovative companies that are thinking differently. Big Bang disruptors deliver surprise after surprise. Here are some defining characteristics. They have unencumbered development. They have unconstrained growth, and they have an undisciplined strategy. You know, when we invite them in to talk to us, we suck all these things right out of them, because we want them to come in and we want to say, okay, write down your plan, write down your business plan, okay? Talk to me about how you're going to do that. I need you to talk to all these different people, and I've got to get buy-in here, here, and here. You know what? That's not going to work anymore, okay? You'll hear more about the author at IOA process, where they observe you doing your job, okay? Invite people in to observe. The world of the fiefdom is over. Leadership is not going to be about how many people you manage or how big your group is. It's how good of a business leader you are to help the bottom line of your company. You've got to get on board. Letting people in to observe the work that you're doing is very, very critical. But how many of you have spent tons of time, not only yourselves, but with your staff, okay, with a vendor going over user requirements? Have you done that? Okay. How many hours can that be? Okay, I recently was in a discussion with a client who figured about between 3 or 4 people, they spent over 100 hours on user requirements for an off-the-shelf system. I want everything to be web-based because I don't want to deal with IT. The minute it's something installed in my company, my nightmare begins. The new product lifecycle can be simplified into 3 steps: development, deployment, and replacement. My point is, customers are so accustomed to this effect that they're coming to expect everyday products or services to get cheaper and better with each passing day. Yet we don't have that going on in pharma. When is it going to happen? So I want to switch a little bit and talk about leadership in a time of change when you really need to get on board with change. So I can tell you as a leader, when I made certain investment decisions, I felt, like hell you're not using it. You were the ones who bugged me to get it, okay? I went to bat, and then you implement it, and to me, it's the equivalent of the big fat middle finger when they don't use it, yet they bugged me for it. So I said, you know what? We're going to do things differently. You want this technology? You're going to use it, and we're putting it in your goals. Because you know what? It's funny. When you put people's salary and their money on the table, guess what? Behavior changes. We've had technology in, and I've spoken to a number of leaders about using the doc label tool. And we hear from people, well, sometimes people don't use it the way we want. This is easy. Put it in their goal that they're going to use it at this step, this step, this step, and this step in development. And if they don't use it, here's what they're going to lose. Courageous leadership. I love what Tesla's doing. And I just love what he says. I can either watch it happen or I could be a part of it. Focus on goal setting. You're going to be making an investment. You want to make sure that you as a leader are supported in the decision to bring this investment forward, and think about how you weave this into your goal setting. And ask yourself, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I love this from Steve Jobs' speech that he did at Stanford University. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Things have shifted in the last 12 months. The discussion we were having a year ago, there's movement within this industry and this industry is prepared to do something different. Not all the companies know exactly what they want to do. They just know they need to do something different. You need to be a part of this.